Sleepy Morning Show as we begin our day, as always, with a prayer. Not like this because it makes you a slave in good health. I also thank God for placing in front of me the opportunities He sees fit to give all kinds of craziness going. Raymond Reynolds, good morning, my sir. Good morning. You know that it's a beautiful day. DJ Sucker Punch. Coast up and down, you know who it is. Anyway, I'm glad you guys showed up and so forth. I'll be with you in a second, but we got to do some got to the White House or that special house and whatnot, and then all of a sudden it's like she's been like tossing this fool's hand away, left and right in public appearances. He even said thank you. So what part of you guys in that? What part of that are you guys not understanding? I don't care about you Trump supporters out there because you're nothing but weak bitches and bastards all the way around. For real. Okay, your commander-in-chief is making you guys look like idiots day in and day out. Where do I begin? Okay. If you didn't spend the night there, how does this make X and everything is going to get you to do your own businesses? Which 9 times out of 10 were mostly sweatshops in China. You have this issue here. You have this issue here of your husband's infidelity, constant womanizing, and of course. Objectifying. He does more objectifying of women than rap music, okay? All right? So, what? Come on. Y'all not seeing this? How about this? The host of the 2013 Miss Universe pageant said yesterday that cheeseburger, your bloaters of the produce, the weighty of mass distraction, okay? The WMD, who has just got that letter grade for escaping high school, states that he to November 8th, November 9th. Keep that in mind. The former FBI director said Cheeseburger offered the Russian prostitutes, offered comments while saying he could not have told Russian prostitutes to urinate on a bed in the Ritz-Carlton, as the dossier purports. The Ritz-Carlton, who knew? Wow. I might as well go down to Mar-a-Lago and take a dump right in front of his estate and see if he'll come out there and play with it. It was there. He had 2 prostitutes pee on his bed. I'm not making this up, people. All right, this is being chastised for what we think, and what we see. Okay, if we see 100% of the truth, we're going to give you 100%. Everybody's going to sit there and say, well, he had failed mental health abilities, but how was I able to get a damn gun? Well. Seems like it's $1,000 because people are just broke, okay? But as the student-led march For Our Lives, nation's attention in weeks after the Parkland shooting, the Army in 1 month now, okay? Most donations of 1.9 million of the 2.4. They have a list, they have a data list of people who are in the NRA that have gave donations. They run through this thing all the time, month after month after month after month. Okay? That's from the NRA during his 2016 U.S. Senate campaign. But his campaign benefited from pittance. A competitive congressional campaign typically costs millions. The NRA hasn't donated at the state level in Florida for years. Instead, the group's political in Republican primary elections. Wow. Therefore, to keep everybody like pigeonholing in base will do. Well, we can't establish a timeline. It's like, what are you talking about? You guys have gun control provisions added to the bill by Republicans. Let it read. Like this to report on these things, to talk about these things. You guys don't want me to talk and just play music. I could be like that on Pandora or any other Spotify place, affecting us. Okay, so and that's another thing. I mean, people are raising money. They're raising money. The most remarkable thing is the fundraiser for the Waffle House Hero that raised $100,000 and less by the Democrats. Okay, so that's pretty much the underlying current. Let's keep our Republican base going and strong, and so that way we can keep on deceiving the people. Paul Ryan is the biggest deceiver next to the Line Committee right about now. Okay, because as he leaves, they're padding another $1.9 million on top of the deficit. Oh, that's great. We're going to be making money. Just like this jackass Ben said, you're going to make money. I'm getting $2,500 on my tax returns. And ain't nobody said anything about this jackass's tax returns yet. We still ain't seen them. Okay? Let's just face it. Let's just face it. You know, the man's going to continue to lie his way through his entire 4 years. You know, he knows he can't be fired. So he thinks, but he can be impeached. And if our voices are strong enough, if we decide at one particular point or another that enough is enough, and I'm sitting here, the stove is already on. It's past the low fire mark. It's going on to medium. Okay? But let's just look at it this way. It works well for, like, say, like, you know, the white Republican base and some of those sellouts and malinchistas that basically supported this jackass, okay? Because they know that their businesses are going to get this, that, and everything else. You know, cuts, that sort of thing. They're forgetting that these baby boomers that are coming up and so forth are going to wind up with their generations paying on this deficit. Who made up this deficit? Okay, we loan sharp money to every country out in the freaking world and then try to collect twice as much of the interest rate on it. So therefore, there will be a good reason why there's anger that spreads across Puerto Rico over the lack of. That's some stupid shit. At least food, you know, the basic health necessities, but the living conditions there are like garbage in the rural areas. Now think about it, pretty much like around the near end of life. The cheeseburger could circumnavigate property to build more of his crap there. Okay? Now this is from a man who basically called Latinos like murderers, rapists, killers, and da-da-da-da-da. Okay? And so with the land completely, when the hurricanes, when, you know, Maria hit the island in September 20th, accounting for a forest storm, killing dozens of people and causing more than an estimated $100 billion in damage, it was easy to say, okay, well, this place is decimated, we're going to build here. But you didn't have the permits to build it. You didn't have the international permits to build there. And there's a reason why. Okay? Even though you consider Puerto Rico like the 52nd state and so forth, and their statehood to a certain extent, when natural disasters hit, that means that they're trying, Puerto Rico doesn't fall under eminent domain. See what I'm saying? Eminent domain is happening in U.S. held territories. This is not a U.S. held territory. It is a considerable. So the next time they sit up and say, well, you know, the Puerto Rico scheme with incentives there, but it's the worst, and probably the second poorest place in America behind Detroit. We're looking at disgusting here. Okay. I'm not focusing on any of these reports, but these things are just coming up. They're coming up. They're coming up from out of the bottom of the garbage that's already sitting on top. That funk is there. And we keep ignoring it. White media basically keeps ignoring it. And it keeps surfacing because there are people, there are journalists out there reporting it and saying, no, this is not true. I don't watch Fox because it is a racist station in the first place. Okay? It is a racist station. The news reporting is racist as hell. And anybody that works for them are nothing more than sellouts, coons, crackers, and all kinds of things that I could probably put in a box of cusses that I try not to use. And believe me, my box of cusses extend from 1962. So of course I have a litany of words I could probably use right about now. But alas, poor York, I knew them well. People are not doing well. Mayor Miguel Lopez told the Associated Press, noting that there were many elderly people in this town. They are suffering, okay? And what better way to get the Puerto Ricans to give up their land than to let them die on it by attrition, economic attrition. This is why it's important, people, to basically spend your money in places that you know that are not corporately based. But until you actually understand and get that, then you probably won't know much afterwards, would you? I mean, come on. It comes in, subjugate, and murder. And this is the easy murder because Mother Nature did it for you. Even though the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, which is overseeing federal power restoration efforts on the island, they expect to restore power to everyone by late May. Let's see, we're near the end of April. Many remain wary of that timetable, including federal investigators who have requested that the agency's mission be extended, as they note that the Atlantic hurricane season starts June 1st. So as soon as we finish up everything in the end of May, it all gets blown away again, right? So this week you know exactly who's on the show, and more important, that we espouse against carry our legislature and our words into changing laws by those who tell us how to live our lives. You have dictators, people who dictate and lobby and make sure they write laws to not only control you, but become arbitrary because, if anything, they're there to extract more money from poor people than anything else. Now, I feel sorry for my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters that are going to basically wind up through another hurricane season at the 1st of June. Okay? You see how the United States basically just stretched this out? They stretched it out as non-important. Okay? Life is very important. The preservation of life should take precedence over everything. And as a good friend of me told me once before, when love is the center of everything, there is no evil force on the planet that can stop it. It must be balanced, but it cannot be stopped when there's wrong being perpetrated. And what better wrong than the United States saying that we need to build that damn wall? How about this? Migrant caravan arrives at U.S. border, but long road awaits. All right? Now, keep in mind, this U.S. border thing has been going on for quite some years. I mean, we're talking like decades. Some of you guys who weren't born yet and everything do not realize how bad this is. Okay? But imagine, if you will, if you were coming from out of a neighborhood where cartels and gang members and jackasses alike who don't do for the people no more than extract money, kidnapping and murder, and making mules out of them and so forth, and hooking them with a bait and switch sale to have a better life in America. Well, the caravan of weary migrants that Cheeseburger's administration has called a threat to the sovereignty and security of the United States above all other countries. God bless America. Began to arrive on the northern border of Mexico on Tuesday, a month after the group started its journey at the country's southern border with Guatemala. Now, if people are not understanding, there are Latino issues. Okay, there are Latino issues in basic freedoms that are being corrupted by their police, by their own governments, and by their own heads of state. If there are reporters that are reporting on this, they wind up dead. It is a short career there. Okay, they don't like people telling their business. They don't like snitches. Pretty much, they don't like reporters. They don't like journalists. They don't want no one to document what the hell they do down there. Okay? So 2 buses carrying about 130 immigrants, most of them women and children, arrived at an immigrant shelter in Mexicali, a border city, and were welcomed by volunteers and government officials who provided them with sandwiches, water, medical care, and warm mattresses to rest on. Oatmeal beats no oatmeal at all. Okay? After an hour and a half, after the hour and a half stop, the participants, nearly all from Central America, are fleeing poverty and violence in their own homeland, pushed toward Tijuana, the group's final destination in Mexico, where they intended to apply for asylum in the United States. Okay, poverty and violence. Okay, let me tell you something, people. Here in the United States, we have poverty and violence whole scale because there's lack of opportunity. We allow both the police and the gangs and so forth to dictate that level of poverty. And not only that, but city governments themselves make more money off of poor people than they do off of rich. They do. When it comes to basic pay and everything, I mean, we're paying these people out of our taxes to represent us in a fair and balanced, fair and unbiased way. Fair, that sort of thing. But unfortunately, this is the sad part about it. As we do this here, other people around the world see how we do it, and they take from us and say, if they can do it, so can we. Monkey see, monkey fucking do. All right. So after an hour and a half stop, the participants, nearly all of them in Central America, fleeing poverty and violence in their homeland, pushed toward Tijuana, the group's final destination in Mexico, and many intended to apply for asylum in the United States. Well, this is incredible, said Brian Claros, 20, a migrant from El Salvador, who was traveling with his younger brother, Luis, and their stepfather, Andres Rodriguez. Okay? From where they are standing, on the broken sidewalk outside of the Hotel del Migrantes Hilton, they could see the steel border fence. It's not a wall, people. It's a fence. And it's maintenance. And there will be no wall. Okay? 2 blocks away from the tops of lampposts and buildings on the other side of Calexico, California. They had fled El Salvador because of gang death threats. They said and were planning to apply for asylum when they crossed into the United States from Tijuana. Organizers had encouraged participants to seek asylum at Tijuana rather than Mexicali because it was easier to arrange for volunteer lawyers. Quote, we've almost arrived in the United States, Mr. Claros said, smiling brother, but then he considered the legal road ahead and his smile faded. There's still a long way to go. Of course there's going to be a long way to go, my brother, okay? Another several hundred caravan members were expected to follow later in that day in a convoy of buses. And the third contingent traveling atop freight trains. Now, the only people that have not said anything at this particular point because of the area that they're in is the CDC. Somehow, and I'm telling you this now, somehow the CDC is going to intervene on this migration that's happening right now. And they're going to sit there and say, excuse me, how can we sit there, how can we stop these people from coming over here? Well, we have to say, well, they have a pandemic that's starting within their culture. So therefore, they are going to cause people to get sick. And if we become sick, then they'll transfer that into the United States and hordes of white people will be affected. The inoculations, everybody's going to be saying, oh, it's worse than Ebola and da-da-da-da-da. And then, guess what, my Mexican brothers and sisters? You will be blamed for a disease that you didn't even have to begin with. Just like AIDS and Ebola, you dumbasses. Think about it. The president posted a series of messages on Twitter that warn of dangers. Chicken shit, your bloaters of the POTUS, the whitey of mass distraction, used the caravan as a cudgel, okay, against the Mexican government, using it of doing little to curb illegal northward migration as the grounds to deploy the National Guard to the southwest border of the United States. With the caravan nearing Mexico-United States border this week, Cheeseburger returned to the subject, saying on Twitter and on Monday that he had instructed the Department of Homeland Security not to let these large caravans of people into our country. Excuse me, who gave you the authority to say it? These. It's a disgrace, he declared. Wow. This is a man who basically just does not like Mexicans at all. Okay? This is the man who basically had El Chapo, traveling through Brooklyn to go to a prison. Okay, during his inauguration, which was like the weakest damn showing of everything. I mean, it's like his inauguration was like a D movie that everybody knows is out, but nobody showed up. Okay, except for the neo-Nazis, fascists, and racists that actually supported this jackass. Okay, come on. Oh, let's not forget about the white man's bitches and the Malinchistas that will help him as well. Okay. Now, Mr. Sessions said that he ensured that there will be, quote-unquote, sufficient prosecutors and immigration judges to defend the nation's legal interests and handle the arriving immigrants. The migrants in the caravans, he said, ignored the willingness of the Mexican government to allow them to stay in Mexico. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't a choice. What are you going to do in Mexico except for wind up getting accosted by more gangs? Okay? These people know full well if you're running from El Salvador to Guatemala all the way into Mexico, you're going to run into Mexican gangs who probably have liaisons with the trying to run from. It is the government itself that basically does not do for its people. And when the government does not do for its people, the people must either leave or fight the government, one or the other. Can't have both. You can't have your eat cake. You cannot have your pandaria and eat it too. Okay? Just get over that. You either do or you don't. This is more than just not up to the United States. It's more or less up to the people themselves. Are you going to fight back for your lands? Then fight the people who are basically trying to kill you. Fight those jackasses. All right? Stop being chicken shits. Okay? Plain and simple. If you want something done, you got to do what you got to do to get it done. If you want peace in your home, you will have peace in your home. Okay? Or you will find some place to go. Like I did. Yes, haha. Anyway, but on the real though, for the people that are there who are suffering from these persecutions from both government and gangs and cartels, you're more than welcome to come up and find a sanctuary city. And what better sanctuary city than Los Angeles? Even though they're trying to bring this to court and say, oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that, can't do that. Okay. So if anything, the CDC, I'm telling you, the CDC will be a factor when there's going to be more migration in that particular place. Badlands will exist, people. They will exist. And those badlands will start to run out of people. And just like in South Africa, they're going to start recruiting children. There will be wars. There will be famine. There will be disease. That unless Mexico, Central America, comes to grip with itself and says, okay, enough of the damn corruption. We better do something better for the future of this land, or we're going to lose it to the United States. And that's all Cheeseburger's waiting on for you to just basically kill yourselves. All right? So that's where they can go down there and buy the land dirt cheap. In the Treaty of Guadalupe, the Treaty of Guadalupe will be thrown out as a joke. Yeah. Think about that one for a hot second. All right. So it comes down to land, does it? If one of the scariest things about the land is a lot, damn. Okay. That's a sad picture of Prince Charles sitting up there falling asleep with his wife Camilla. Anyway, I look at this stuff and I sit there and I wonder if people do not understand the progression of villainy. Okay, we have done the most villainous things we as human beings have done the most villainous things on this planet when it comes to privilege, elitism, and corporate greed. Okay, but yet still corporate greed is the complete dissemination of this planet's resources. And what better way than the United States, Russia, and Korea to strip everything from out of Africa and for pennies, not paying their people. That's, and then there's civil wars where they're using kids and so forth to fight these damn wars. Central America and Mexico, you guys are into that trap. Slowly but surely, and then when it becomes a democratic coup orchestrated by the United States, then and only then would you see exactly what I'm talking about. All right? If you study the past, those things that have been done in the past will eventually repeat themselves. The more things change, the more they stay the same. And I'm not sure if you guys understand that philosophy, but you'll see it eventually. Okay? It's like tying your shoe. The more you tie your shoe, the more it stays the same of how you do tie your shoe. Get it? Got it? Good. Shut up. All right? Now, because it is Earth Day, I am going to do what's the most responsible thing here possibly is allow people to, say, what are you doing for Earth Day? What are you doing for the month of Social Security? Okay? I love it how society puts all these, little, days and months together and so forth. Oh, it's SSI. It's Earth Day. Oh, it's this day, that day, and everything else. When Earth Day should be every freaking day. The fact of the matter is this, people. When you are a part of the problem and the solution is given and you don't want the solution, then 9 times out of 10 you're greedy for something else, like a solution and how do you get paid from doing it. There's nothing wrong with that. That's capitalism. But what can they do to build the whole of the people? That's more worthy. Okay, that saves face. But if you're just doing it for profit, then there's no profit motivation in it. Then why do it? So, needless to say, climate change might already be happening, and it would mean our protections or our projections of it are way off. Okay. People who live, say, like on the coastlines and so forth, like in Florida or in swamplands, like around Louisiana, where the port waters for shrimping are basically dead within almost like a 25-mile area. Why? Global warming. Now, see, unfortunately, we have idiots in the United States who don't think that global warming is actually happening. Okay, they try to blame it on cows. Okay, they try to blame it on people in prison farting too much. I mean, come on, what are you feeding them? Ugh. Well, okay, yeah, I know what you're feeding them. A whole bunch of garbage. Anyway, the story goes from Business Insider. The worst case climate scenario for coastal cities is known as a pulse. Pulse. So what is a pulse? What is a pulse? What is a pulse? A pulse comes from something that's living. The planet itself is a living planet. It's not a dead planet. It's a but we are damn sure trying to kill it, aren't we? In that situation, abnormally warm water could cause the glaciers that hold sheets on top of Antarctica and Greenland to collapse. That will cause massive quantities of ice to pour into the world's oceans, which could lead to extremely rapid sea level rises around the world. If such a scenario were to occur, current sea level rise predictions for vulnerable cities like Miami would be far too low. Right now, scientists predict Miami will likely be surrounded by seas up to 7 to 8 feet higher than they were in 1900 by the end of this century. But in case of a pulse, some experts think South Florida could see 10 to 30 feet of sea level rise by 2100. Okay, so therefore, we're talking like, in our generations to come, when we have basically siphoned all the money from all the poor people, and we have basically made this into an industrial powerhouse here of garbage, and we're still promoting and polluting our atmospheres, polluting our rivers, polluting our waters, making decimation happen within the oceans themselves, where life has been generated for over millions and millions of years. Okay? When the fish die, where do we go? Amount of rise could also be accompanied by superstorms, conditions that might mark the start of such scenarios seem to already be underway in Antarctica, according to a recent study published by the journal Science Advances. Why were we down in Antarctica with a whole contingency of military there in the first place? Or just to make sure we cover our tracks and say, no, there's no such thing as global warming? Researchers behind the work found that in at least 2 Antarctic regions, where there's been noticeable ice loss, glaciers are melting fast enough to counteract the process that would normally keep the waters under the Antarctic cool. And where warm waters collect, faster melting happens. Said by Alessandro Salvano, our study shows that this feedback process is not only possible, but is a fact already underway and may drive further acceleration of the rate of sea level rise in the future. Okay, now there are 2 areas analyzed in the study where Amundsen Sea and West Antarctica and the Sabrina Coast in East Antarctica. Normally, holes in Antarctic rapidly cool waters around the Antarctic continental shelf, which prevents warm water from melting glaciers. The reason why I said that slow because scientifically it is too much for the slower definition of people to catch on. That cooling process creates a type of ocean water known as dense shelf water, which is so cold and dense that it sinks, eventually forming a mass of water called Antarctic bottom water. Okay, now you add a little radiation to that, and you got heavy water. And if you got that, you have the purpose and the process of making making nuclear fusion. That can cause a positive feedback, driving further melt on the East Coast, where a lot of this is going to be happening by 2100. Dead when all this is happening. But hey, at least you got some warning about this ahead of time. And if you look at the archives and everything that I have on YouTube and Facebook, you'll understand that I'm just trying to give you guys a heads up. Okay? Why do you think I moved to Colorado? If I'm going to have a family here, trust me, at least we know we're going to get 20 feet of snow. And as long as I'm like, 25 feet high, I don't have to go anywhere. Oh, yeah, I do have to get out. But, the thing is, the pool of warm water beneath Antarctica, the Antarctic for that matter, glaciers, makes rapid glacier melt more likely, which increases the possibility of ice shelf collapse and rapid sea level rises. And I mean, when NASA shows you pictures of, say, like photographs of ice shelves that are big as states, like floating off in the ocean, and then you have these crazy ass El Niños, and then you have these crazy storms, crazy weather happening. It looks like Mother Nature is having a bipolar miscalculation right about that. The lack of Antarctic bottom water could therefore slow ocean currents, and slower currents are associated with more superstorms according to the historical record and computer models. The slowing would also cause warming to happen more rapidly in Earth's atmosphere. So therefore, if there's going to be more earthquakes, there's going to be more of this. Nature goes on a step-by-step cycle, like dominoes. You knock one over and everything else keeps going. Like the disappearing animals that have become more than, say, endangered species. I mean, I'm on the endangered species list, don't get me wrong. Okay, I just haven't been hunted by a cop, thank God. Ja Rastafari. The slowing would also cause warming to rapidly in Earth's atmosphere, further accelerating glacier melts. Now, we just came out of a solar flare. I don't know if people realized that last week, but we came out of a solar flare. Okay? What happened? What do you think happened then? The sun gets brighter, it gets hotter all of a sudden? Tell you, man, this universe is quite dangerous, and what we do on this earth is almost hypocritical to the reason why all life should be precious. In combination, the two processes identified fed off each other to further accelerate climate change, Silvano says. As the researchers explained in the study, there is still a lot to learn about the process and its connection to climate change, but they said what we're seeing now is further evidence that stopping the rise of global temperatures is essential. The burning of fossil fuels is causing Earth's temperatures to creep higher and higher above pre-industrial levels. The higher the temperature gets, the more likely the collapse of ice shelves become. Yin, yang. Okay, in, out. Cause and effect. Okay, situation, circumstance. Are we starting to see this? If not, how come there's no raps about that? Okay? Instead of, I got hoes, money, and drugs that prescribe to the lowest common denominator. And as long as those who consider pushing that material out there, think about it. Okay, but, the potential pulse that comes with it will be there. This is KTNG 860 AM. We are at our fun drive, and we're going to move on to our syntax topic, swimming prophylactics. Dirty rubbers in the ocean. Dirty rubbers in my food. Swimming prophylactics. Now, who is the fool? If you want to increase that, hey, you can do that to $20 level. $20 will also help. Anything in between that, how about $100? Become a lifetime member. So they should be here by Saturday. Yes! They should be here. No radio station anywhere. Where you can't get that on no talk format nowhere. And to tell me, we're simply asking for $1,000 by the end of the month. Obviously. What is melanated people? A place for poor, educated black people to talk? Obviously. What is next door? What is conscious of human strata? When it comes to human strata, people. Our fun drive special. Realize that prophylactics are made of what? Ooh, plastique. Okay, now I'm going to show you a sucker punch on this one. All right, and you're going to love this. This is going to be a sucker punch. So if I were y'all, I would seriously have your guard up, because it is coming. I just finished reading a report on what kind of destructive habits we have here on this planet, against the planet. I mean, Earth Day is happening, people. Okay, so therefore, let's look about a big question. If we're so committed to committing wars, disease, and famine, is life on Earth dying? Well, of course, people die every day. No, I'm talking about the planet itself. Is it dying so fast that we are starting to feel it and understand that there's no sense in going any further in the human strata to protect it? Wildlife Fund, in collaboration with a zoological study of London,